inherit this historical trauma that our ancestors went through. And in the field of epigenetics, which is the study of how behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work, and where we say that unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and doesn't mean that you are going to change your DNA sequence, but you can change how your body reads your DNA. So it's a little bit like what you've just said, which is rephrasing the story or that you tell yourself or the belief that you have about something. So it means for me that although you cannot control the genes you inherit, although you cannot control the historical trauma you inherit, you can have an effect on it in the present moment through epigenetics. So you can actually act upon it to change it, to change something and heal from that historical trauma. And that's actually my question. How do you heal from transitional trauma?
Epigenetics is from, as far as I'm concerned, okay? Epigenetics is just validating what the East already knew.
Okay, interesting.
And that's been just pure. I'm not being arrogant about it. I'm just being factual. Okay, I'll have to go back to yoga. Okay, yoga is a lifestyle. Okay, now we have to take some things into consideration. The way yoga was brought to the West was very much from a man's perspective.
When you say a man, you mean versus female?
The male gender were the priests. They were the pundits. They were the masters. Majority of them were male.
Yeah.
Because the woman's role was not given much of like a spiritual thing. So what happens is a lot of actually female people, female genders from the West went over, they studied and took it back, or the male gender took it back. If you look at how it was transmitted then, or how it was given from a very physical part. The West loves gyms, they love yogas, they love physical appearance, right? But sitting for going deep inside yourself is a different process, which is something we learned. So in our house, they would be like, we throw the word karma around. But we would never say karma is a bitch. That's very Western.
Yeah.
But we'd say everything is has a karmic consequences.
Yes.
Right now, we are having a karmic consequence because colonialism's consequences are taking place right now in forms of conflict.
Yes, definitely.
Right? So it's not that karma is a bitch, it's just having consequences. And that's literally what it is, right?
Yeah.
So in this whole process of yoga as a lifestyle, it's about realizing that your actions have a reaction.
Yeah, and consequences.
And but the one thing you are in charge of, the one thing you're responsible for is the way you want to react, act, and interact. That is what you you have a choice in.
Yes.
And that then does it has a karmic consequence or whatever the consequence. And it doesn't mean it's a bad consequence or a good consequence. It just has a consequence. And in the East, they also spend a lot of time talking about community. So, when you're raised, you take care of your ancestors, you take care of your elders, you do prayers to your ancestors and thank them. It is very community oriented to give a sense of belonging. And look what we're asking for now in corporate world, belonging, inclusion, diversity. And I'm just like, but in the East, that's always been there for centuries. And that came through the way the philosophies are written. They take care of the nature, they go slow with nature. So all that is now being passed over. But in the West, now everybody wants to do it fast. It doesn't work that way, you see. So with epigenetics, I can understand why they're saying that, because the East kind of understood that way of slowing down, respecting your body, taking care, looking at things harmonically.
Yes.
You're actually then looking at yourself harmonically. So you're treating yourselves with dignity and respect. Your genetics are being treated with respect. This is not woo-woo stuff. It just kind of makes sense in a certain way.
Yes. So, but how does that apply? Like, because for me, it's really this idea that, okay, I am aware that I have inherited this historical trauma from my ancestors. I heard stories that my dad told me about what the French did to Moroccan people there. It's horrible. Like, they are not nice stories to hear.
Yeah, I understand.
Definitely not. But at the same time, here I am, you know, here I am, I inherit it, I am aware of it, but I'm not living in a colonized country, or at least, you know. So how do you liberate yourself from that trauma?
Thanking your ancestors for one.
So being grateful for it first.
Thanking them.
And thanking, okay, explain.
I'm like you. I never knew. In our culture, my grandfather had to take about 5 families, I think 5. They used to all live in a compound together in one house. So they all had their own house in Pakistan. And when they had to cross over, they had to cross over by train. And it was a make it or break it. Because they had to literally board up, put mattresses against the train. And if they were caught, they would be massacred. We never heard about these stories for years. In fact, it's a silent shame. They don't talk about it. So
Right.
there's a big, massive hollowness there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right.
I can say I'm historically traumatized. But then when I heard that story, knowing what I know now, I went, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
True.
I wouldn't have a sense of purpose. So their resilience, I have to honor it and respect it and say thank you. With whatever they knew at that time, they did the best that they can. Whatever my parents did what they could now, they did the best that they understood with what they had. And so to be able to come to here and saying, I have food on the table, I have a roof over my head, I can talk to you, I can travel. There's so much there. I cannot be angry for my roots. I cannot turn back the past.
No.
Right? So there's no point me staying angry for what I can't undo. What I can do is I can say thank you for bringing me where I am today. I honor you where I am today. And how would I like to bring and elevate my culture within me? Without wanting, I don't want to change you. I want to embrace your culture. I don't have to take from your culture. I can now choose where I want to live, because after me is someone else. My cousins, my nieces are going to be after me. So when I heal and make peace with my ancestral roots, I will change and navigate how I'm going to speak to my niece or nephews in the future.
So give me a few examples of the things that you can sort of act upon. So I'll give you an example. One thing that is coming on top of my head, there's been, from my experience, a lot of complex of inferiority.
Yes.
Even if, we didn't live it, but there is still this, in a sort of the heritage of it is that there is a complex of inferiority on one hand, and there is also a complex of superiority on the other hand, right? So for that to end, what would you, what kind of sort of behavior or attitude or things that you need to change, or the narrative that you want to tell in order to, I wouldn't say escape, but again, liberate yourself from this complex of inferiority. And also, the other thing is, for me, it's also this thing about, I do believe that, yes, my ancestors were the victim. I do believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, it's a fact. But at the same time, I don't want to stay in that victimhood. You know?
You don't have to be.
And we don't have to be. And so I want to kind of be like, okay, I want to liberate myself from that victimhood. I want to empower myself to also get rid of that inherited complex of inferiority. And through racism, that's kind of reminded sometimes to you, I've gone through racism. I want to kind of liberate myself from that and empower myself on, okay, I have choices, I can make my own choices, I can get rid of all these negative beliefs. I can speak, as you said, to my children or my, in my case, to my nephew and nieces, in order for them to empower them and be like, okay, you're equal to anybody else. You have the power of, manifesting anything you want in life. That's the way I've gone through myself. But how do you, do you have any other examples or things that anyone can do to act upon that? And what I'm thinking is that if I manage to do that, and let's say I've got children, that means that, again, if we come back to this epigenetics thing, that means the genes now, again,
they get breath.
Exactly. So the genes that they get is whatever I have changed in my present life that now I can give as a gift to the next generation. And hopefully, as you said, the next generation will be like, I need to honor what my ancestors or my parents or my grandparents, had to go through so that I am here sitting doing XYZ.
There's so much I can say. Okay, let's start with the obvious. Have a healthier relationship with your judgments. Have a healthier relationship with conflict. If conflict doesn't exist, we become complacent. We will always have conflict. There's always going to be differences of opinions, of views, and everything. We live right now in a very highly opinionated world. We confuse our facts with our points of views.
Completely.
So have a healthier relationship with your judgment and realize, and with your moral code. And I'm saying that with, don't want to get crucified on this, but you want to have a healthier relationship by realizing and consider that the other person is not going to meet you where you are, and vice versa. They also you will not meet them. Consideration and goes hand in hand with being healthier with your judgments. Your judgments only inform you of what's going on inside of you. That's it. It's not a truth. It's just an information how you process something. If you can build from the inside, for that to happen, you want to start developing patience with yourself. I think today, because we have this phone all the time switched on, let's react. I have to respond. If you're constantly doing that, after a while, you're also doing that to your judgments. Because if you practice small things over and over and over again, they become normality.
Yes, they do.
Right? So if you're constantly judging, guess what you have? A constant way of viewing life through that. Or you can say, oh, I have a judgment going on here. Okay. Walk with that, and then that will also help you to relax from comparing yourself with others. Those are the two easiest things you can do. I'm not asking you to sit in meditation yet, but train your mind to look at that part first. It doesn't mean you're not good, the problem is people think that by doing that they feel guilty, like they're almost being disloyal if they're no longer believing what their ancestors believed in, or the injustice
they went through.
Yeah. There is that you go through a process where you start thinking that you're being disloyal, and then you start questioning yourself. But when you reach that part, that's when you say, I don't have to be like that. I can start seeing things differently. Like I said, when I work with clients, you have to do that process and then ask yourself, how do you want to phrase things, not to survive, but to thrive? And, then you're talking differently, right? And those are the steps. But your fundamental first step, have a healthier relationships with your judgment and your moral code.
Right. And on the same note, on the other hand of the spectrum, okay, what would you say about, I'm going to say it, but, the Germans who, the Nazi going through the genocide, the exterminations of the Jews at the time during the Second World War. Today, if you look at, again, that's heritage that is transgenerational, which is that now potentially German people will be like, okay, they must have inherited the guilt
they did,
and
yes.
the shame of
a lot of them have, yes.
Right? So you've got on one hand those who inherit the guilt and the shame, those who inherit they're being a victim and suffering from injustices from their ancestors. And especially in this world now, how do we reconcile the two? How do we sort of stop blaming, and on the other hand, helping, becoming, like people talk about allies. I'm not too sure about that, but living together in harmony.
In negotiations, they have BATNA, right? Best Alternative Negotiated Agreement.
Okay.
Okay? I changed the last sentence. It's Best Alternative Negotiated Answers or Actions.
Okay.
Okay? In order to get rid of blame, you can't get rid of it, but you can clear it. And by clearing it, it goes back again to stepping back from your judgments. As long as you hold on to the judgment, I should be guilty because of what happened in my past, you're going to keep running with that. And I've seen people actually use superiority, as you mentioned earlier, because they use it to cover up their insecurity. And they're like, okay, I know I'm privileged, I feel guilty. But then they'll say, oh, I'm being empathic. And then you're going, no, that's not empathic, that's sympathy and pitying. But they don't realize, so they don't stop and realize that, okay, how am I coming across? So to be able to understand that, you have to ask yourself, what am I just taking for granted? In this world, we cannot take arrogance and ignorance for granted inside of us. Each of us have it. I have it, and it can come up in I don't even realize it. And so when I sit quietly with myself, or when I do a lot of contemplations, asking myself to be true to myself, I sometimes ask, where am I being an a-hole? And I know the answers will come up. And I go, okay, where was that coming from? Why was it? And taking that accountability for yourself, you then will change the way you speak. Because you're starting with you. So, and then collectively, you can start talking differently. Now, the only thing you always want to be careful is, again, manage the moral code. Look, I went into a school, I had to do the cross.
Yes.
I was like, I used to go home and go, Dad, Mom, why am I having to do the cross? Keep quiet, do it. But I go and I pray to like 20 million gods in a room, and you're telling me I should just pray to this God, this gentleman in a robe that I have no understanding for. And if I said that, how dare you say that? And then you're just caught again. Because you think now, does that mean I'm less? Am I inferior to this religion? And that duality still exists. When people tell you today, you have to forgive. Hold on. Forgiveness from who's saying that? Is it coming from a superior side or from an inferior side? And so we have to start weighing things in. Weighing in how we are going to navigate the blame. But you have to weigh in how you're navigating it inside of you. Otherwise, you can, no matter what anyone tries to make it better, if you're not willing to let go of blame, you're never going to see it.
So do you think that basically the first step is going through this internal introspection and reflection to change and find that inner peace? And then would you say that, I'm just wondering if on one hand one shouldn't ask for forgiveness and the other shouldn't say, yes, I forgive you?
But no, it always depends on the situation. Always depends on the situation. Look, that's what I said when I was working with different cultures. I remember one lady, she came, I had to actually close the center down for her because she didn't want her priest to know she was coming to me. Because yoga was the devil's work. That's what was there. And because she had an open-hearted surgery and her anesthesia ran out, she was in a state of panic. I don't know anything about the Bible, but I knew that for her, the Bible was her place of peacefulness. Now I have to choose. I have to sometimes listen to somebody saying, you know, this does this for me, I can say, oh, well, my religion says that also for me. And then we're now comparing. But I had to think what's important for her.
Okay.
So sometimes we have to think, again, goes back to consideration. Consider where is that person coming from. Do you wake up in the morning saying, I want to hurt somebody?
No, obviously not.
No, right?
Mm.
But then no one else does either. Not many people actually want to hurt. But because hurt people, we have to attend to our inner hurt. It's not to say that it's excusable for letting people walk all over us. But you have to weigh it in, how you're going to discuss this. Because there's no win-win.